If you found this video, you've probably already heard about how wonderful and amazing the rides at Tokyo Disneyland are. And in this video, we're going to talk about everything that makes each and every one of them so good. But we're also going to do something you don't see very much of online and talk about the problems with every single ride as well. So after this video, you're going to know the good and the bad about every single ride at the park. You'll know which rides you want to hit when you go, and you'll just know a lot more about this one-of-a-kind Disney park. First, we're going to look at Alice's Tea Party, and this is your classic spinny teacups ride. There's not much to really say about this one. So for good, I've written spinny. The good thing about this is that it's spinny. It's actually quite forceful. If you really want to pull as hard as you can on that center wheel, you can get pretty fast, which is really fun. It's one of the more thrilling rides in the park, actually, despite how how kind of tame it looks. And for the bad side, I've written spinny, because for some people, you're probably not going to want to have that stomach churning feeling of spinning round and round as fast as you can. One thing that this ride does is if you spin it too fast, it does stop, so it slows you down so you can't kind of reach terminal velocity and get ridiculous. But also, you are in control of the spin, so there's that. Beaver Brothers Explorer Canoes. These are the little canoes that you, the guests, can physically row around the rivers of America in the Western Land area of the park. The good thing about these is you get some amazing views of this side of the park. It's a gorgeous area of the park, and you just get these really unique views being so low down. The negative side of this ride is physical exercise. This might be a positive for some of you healthy folk out there, but for me, yeah, not quite. Especially right now, it's the summer and it's like 38 degrees plus 100% humidity. I didn't know humidity could reach 100%, but it can. But yeah, I do not want to be rowing a boat right now. They do close them during the summer anyway, but even in like September, October, and yeah. A day at Tokyo Disneyland is already tiring enough. I don't think I need an upper body workout halfway through the day. The next is an absolute classic. This is the biggest roller coaster in the park, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. And for this, I've written the fastest in the park. It's the fastest ride currently at Tokyo Disneyland. Now, that's all going to change very soon. When the new Space Mountain ride opens in 2027, make sure that you subscribe to this channel because I'll be talking a lot about that when it opens. I'm very excited. But yeah, right now, if you want to get a big roller coaster, Disney big, you know, if you want to get on a roller coaster, Big Thunder Mountain's going to be that for you. And there's nothing quite like whizzing through these really amazingly themed areas. You get some great views from the top there. It is one of the better rides in the park. Having said that, the worst side of this is it can leave you wanting a bit more if you're a coaster person. You know, like I said, it's Disney thrills, so it's nothing crazy. And even for Disney, like other parks have Tron Light Cycle Run, Rock and Roller Coaster, this gets nowhere near those. It's much more of a family coaster, and it would be nice if the park had more of a thrill coaster. Maybe Space Mountain's gonna give us a bit of that. I don't know. Castle Carousel, this is the little twinkling carousel that you can see through the center of the castle. As soon as you see the castle, you see this little spinning thing through the gates. You want to head straight towards it, and I always do. I always try and go straight through the castle. It just feels right, you know? And this ride is iconic. It's iconic. You know, famously, Walt Disney himself was sat watching a carousel go around, watching his daughters on the carousel, thinking to himself, there should be a place where adults and kids can have fun together. So then he made a carousel, which was where he realized the problem with carousels. Anyway, probably don't overthink that. So the carousels are iconic, and I'm very glad that they have one. Having said that, it's a carousel. It's a slow-moving ride. For some people, it's going to be on the boring side. So that's what I've written for the negative for this ride. Next is Chippendale's Treehouse. This is a tiny little treehouse walkthrough at the back of Toontown. For the positive, you get some really nice views from here. You get some interesting views. I actually went up there for the first time ever, I'm pretty sure, just a couple of weeks ago. You can see the vlog on this channel. It's the last video that was on here. I tried to spend the whole day at Tokyo Disneyland and never wait over 15 minutes. And I was pretty impressed with how much I got done. So if you like that sort of thing, do check that video out. But yeah, you get some pretty interesting views from up there. On the negative side, it's this tiny little thing. It's tiny. It's, you know, the park like to list a lot of these Toontown things as attractions, but compared to like a big ride, it's really nothing. Speaking of these little walkthroughs, the next one is Cinderella's Fairy Tale Hall. This is the walkthrough attraction inside the castle. And you get some really nice photo ops in here. You can get some great photos. There are even some areas where you want to turn the flash on. The lighting's great, like you can see fine, but if you turn the flash on, something a little special happens, I'll just say that. It's a very sweet little walkthrough. It feels like what the inside of Cinderella's castle would be like. On the negative side, it used to be something a lot darker and a lot more unique, Cinderella's Mystery Castle Tour. Defunctland have done an amazing video on that, so check that out if you want to learn more about it. But it was essentially like a horror walkthrough. Not horror, but the Disney villains took over, and it ended with someone having to fight the Skeleton King from the Black Cauldron of all movies. Very, very strange attraction to have inside the castle itself, you know, this centerpiece of the kingdom of magic and dreams. So yeah, I can see why they changed it, but I really wish I could have tried that. I never got to do it myself. Next is Country Bear Theatre. What is the best thing about the Country Bear Theatre? Big Al, of course it's Big Al. I've seen this show 100 times and I never don't laugh at, that's a double negative, we can word that better. I always laugh when the curtains open and you just hear, down, blood on the saddle, down. It's so good. Oh, I just think it's hilarious. And it's one of the parts of the show that's in English, which I'm very grateful for. The bad thing about Country Bears, though, is I honestly couldn't think of one. Yeah, it's not a ride. It's not super exciting. I guess some people would say it's dated. But I'm honestly genuinely surprised that my 12-year-old daughter really likes it in there. And she insists that we go inside every time we go to Disneyland. We all really, really enjoy it. It's a great show, what can I say? And you never have to wait for it. I love the Country Bears. I really hope ours doesn't change. And in Tokyo, it even has different versions for the summer and different versions for Christmas. So it's always something fresh. You know, for me as a local who's lived here for 6 years, it's nice that there's always something new going on there. Next is Donald's Boat. This is another one of the things in Toontown, so I won't go on about it for too long. The plus is it's great for little kids. Little kids love rushing around this thing. The negative note is I think it gave me a concussion one time. The doorways are very, very small, so if you are an adult-sized child like I am, it can be a bit difficult to get around there without whacking your head on something. Dumbo the Flying Elephant. Classic, it's a classic. You know what Dumbo is, everyone knows this. Goes all the way back to 1955, as well as the carousel, you know. Just a classic, classic ride. The negative for this one, which I've mentioned before on this channel, it's too close to the Haunted Mansion. And I guess this isn't really a negative for the Dumbo ride itself, but I just really don't like that when I'm in the queue for Haunted Mansion and it's all eerie and spooky, and then you'll just hear like the music from Dumbo and see these big plastic elephants with big smiling faces spinning around. It's a little bit amusement parky, and I don't know, I just wish it was a bit further away. I don't have a problem with having Dumbo in the park, but a bit further away. Next is one that you rarely see negative takes on because people come all the way to Tokyo Disneyland just to do this ride, and it still exceeds their expectations. This is the Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast, and for this ride, I've just used the word breathtaking. It's just breathtaking. It's been open for 5 years now and it still feels brand new. It's still amazing, the effects that are used in this ride. Maybe effect singular. Like there's one thing that's just mind-boggling in this ride that always leaves your jaw on the floor. Beautiful scenes. The trackless vehicles just used really, really well. You spend plenty of time in every scene really soaking it all up. The pre-show is incredible. The exterior could be like the center castle of a whole Disney theme park. It's that good. Just an incredible ride. However, I remember the first time I rode it and I got into the Be Your Guest scene. It's like, okay, this is great. And then I got into the Something There scene. And it just kind of kept going for a while, and I found myself thinking, oh gosh, has something gone wrong? Am I supposed to spend this much time in here? The slow, deliberate pace can feel a bit boring at times, and this is not a ride like Pirates of the Caribbean or Haunted Mansion, which we'll talk about later, that's like full of tons of different animatronics all doing lots of different things. There's normally 1 or 2 focal points in each scene, and once you've kind of seen that, you're just kind of wandering about, which can feel a little odd at times. But once you lock in with like the pace of this ride and what they're trying to do with it, it's incredible. It's an absolutely wonderful ride. And you have to ride it when you come to Tokyo Disneyland. We're back in Toontown now for Gadget's Go Coaster. This is a little kiddie coaster. And for this one, I'm going to say interesting views. You can actually see Beast's castle from the top of the climb hill, which was great when they were building it because you could just see the whole area. It was so exciting. And the theming of this ride is wonderful. It's so kinetic. It's got that Toontown wackiness to it. There's so much stuff going on. It's a really, really fun little thing for little kids. However, it is a bit short. I think this can be a plus because if you have young children or people who are not so comfortable on roller coasters and this is like their my first coaster, you can say, oh, it's over quickly, and it's not going to overwhelm anyone even if it is a bit too thrilling for them. You know, especially compared to like a Big Thunder Mountain, which has 3 climb hills. It's a much, much longer ride. It's only a little bit more thrilling, really, but it just has so much length to it, whereas this, it's over very quickly, which can leave you feeling shortchanged. Sticking in Toontown, we're going to Goofy's Paint and Playhouse, and I just really like this little thing. It never has a wait, and it's just a fun little interactive game. It reminds me of going to Interventions in Epcot as a kid. Leave a comment if you remember Interventions. I loved the Toontown game in there. I used to love it in there as a kid. A negative to this attraction, there's not much to it. You know, if you see a queue, and it very rarely has a queue, but if you're there on a very busy day and you see a queue and you think, oh, what's in Goofy's house? Is there a little ride, or can I meet Goofy in here? You might be a little disappointed, but if you go in with 0 expectations, it's a really fun little thing and one of the few things that's guaranteed like a 5-minute wait no matter what day you're visiting. The next one is an absolute classic and one of my personal favorites. Got the cushion over here. Haunted Mansion. It's Haunted Mansion. Like, what can I say? It's perfect. And it's been perfectly preserved. Ever since the park opened in 1983, they basically copied Haunted Mansion from the Florida version. It's very, very, very similar to that. And they just kind of kept it that way. You know, Florida's, they've changed things, they've added things, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. And this is just like a perfectly preserved, everything looks brand new, it looks fantastic, but it still has that classic Haunted Mansion style to it. On the negative side, some of the scenes can be a little bit dated, especially the spider scene. I always find when I'm going through there, like, I do like the staircase from the Magic Kingdom's version. I think that is an improvement, and it would be cool if they added that. But they don't need to change anything else. Everything else is perfect. I love the Haunted Mansion. And I mentioned earlier that Country Bear Jamboree has different versions at different times of the year. Haunted Mansion does too. On the Haunted Mansion, if you visit during Halloween and Christmas, you're going to see Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas, who has wrecked the hall. And it is so much fun to see a different take on the Haunted Mansion. It keeps things super fresh. And Nightmare Before Christmas was one of my favorite films growing up, so I always love seeing this version of the ride. And Tokyo and California are the only 2 places that do it, and California's Haunted Mansion's a little bit shorter, and they only have 1 Jack Skellington animatronic. We have 2. The Tokyo Disneyland version of Haunted Mansion Holiday, called Haunted Mansion Holiday Nightmare here, has 2 Jack Skellington animatronics in there, one that greets you right at the start of the ride. It's so much fun. One negative about this is, like I said about the Haunted Mansion ride itself, even the Haunted Mansion Holiday version has never been improved. Like, I always see videos every year of California's version. Oh, we changed this year. We've added this year. Tokyo never changed any of theirs, and some parts of it, you know, I said bits of Haunted Mansion are dated. Some parts of Haunted Mansion Holiday Nightmare are just like flat bits of wood painted with characters on them. I don't know. It is what it is, but yeah, I'm always very excited to step in there when they change it around for Halloween and Christmas. One tip that I always like to remind people of is, like I said, they changed Haunted Mansion over for Christmas, so that means that they do close the ride for a bit. Tokyo Disney close a lot of their rides pretty regularly. There's a very good chance that when you come, some of the rides are going to be closed, and they could be some big ones. So make sure you check the website, the official website. I'll put a link downstairs because I always hate when people come and they say, oh, I didn't expect Journey to the Center of the Earth would be closed. Or, oh my goodness, Beauty and the Beast was closed. So always check those before you visit. Sometimes it's only a matter of moving forwards or back one day and you can get on one of your favorite rides. So I just always like to remind people of that. Okay, the next one, It's a Small World. There's just so much to see in this ride. I think I often kind of discount it and think of it as lower than Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean. And it is, but also, this might be the ride that I most, how do I put this? I most discover new things on. Like, because there's just so much. And there are like whole areas that I'll be like, oh, I always seem to look right here instead of looking left. But there's a ton of stuff on the left as well. There's just so much going on all over the place. It's really a feast for the eyes. On the negative, I was gonna write that damn song, but I like the song. I think it's overhated. I don't know. Write a comment and let me know if you think that it's annoying or if it's overhated. The thing that does bother me though with this ride is Tokyo Disney love to stack their vehicles. Stacking means when you sometimes get to the end of a ride and you have to like wait for a bit for the cars in front of you to move. Sometimes I've been on Small World and there's like boats and boats and boats and boats and you're just basically sat still for like 2 or 3 minutes at the end of the ride. That I don't need. The song can get a bit annoying after that. Moving through the ride, the music's always changing and the instrumentation's always changing and it's evolving, which is really fun. But if you're just sat in that last room for 3 minutes, that's a bit much. I don't need that. Now, this isn't confirmed to actually be returning, but I think it's coming back next January because the ride is scheduled to close in January. Again, please check the ride closures if you're planning to visit. But we did have a version of this with Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. And if that's going to be an annual thing, then I guess I need to talk about that as well. So the good thing about that is it's adorable. It's super fun. There's just Groots everywhere in all these different fun and funny situations and scenarios. I love how at the end of the ride, he's got bags of souvenirs from all the places he's been. And he's even been to Tokyo Disney and bought like some Tokyo Disney merch. It's super cute. I'm really hoping he comes back. And I think he is. We'll see. The negative, I guess it does detract from the central message of It's a Small World a bit. I'm not one of these people who was really angry about it. Some people got really angry about it. I'm not. It was a fun temporary thing. But if this is a celebration of all the different cultures of the world and sort of a prayer for peace, I think Robert Sherman said, one of the Sherman brothers said, it's like a prayer for peace. Like showing this idealized version of the world where we can all come together in harmony. Having a Marvel character in there does detract from that a little bit. Oh well. But it's temporary and it's a lot of fun. Jungle Cruise Wildlife Expeditions. For this one, I've written great at nighttime. They updated this in 2017, I want to say, around that time. And they added some really cool lighting. There's some projection mapping in there. This version has music as well, which I don't think the other versions have. Does Hong Kong have music? I can't remember. But I don't think the other versions have music. It's a really gorgeous ride at nighttime. Having said that, it's very good in the day as well. And I ride it so much at night that sometimes when I do ride it in the daytime, I'm like, oh, there's so much more to see because you can see so much more clearly, On the negative side, and I'm not going to say this about every ride, you could say this about a lot of things. I'm not going to play this card too much, but it is in Japanese, and a huge element of Jungle Cruise is hearing the skippers' jokes and the banter and interacting with them. That's what draws you into the experience, and there's a very good chance that you're not going to understand what they're saying, and it's a shame. It's a shame. There's no way around that. But, I'm looking for negatives for every ride, so that's a negative. Next up, the Mark Twain Riverboat. This is a gem. This really is a gem. This is one of those rides that you're not going to travel halfway around the world to come and do this. But when you ride it, it just is so peaceful and relaxing and beautiful and majestic. And I could go on and on about this ride. And no, I'm not just doing this to rub salt in the wounds of people in Florida because they just got rid of theirs. I genuinely really, really like this ride. And something I really love about it is it's like a walkthrough attraction and a ride in one. It's got 3 layers. You can walk up and down it. You can explore the whole ship. Like it could just be docked and it would still be a fun little walkthrough attraction. But the fact that it moves around this slow moving river, like you're in the middle of the city, but it just transports you a million miles away. Such a good ride. The negative for this one, it closes early. It closes before the park closed, and it's a real shame because riding this at nighttime, they actually change the music. So it's weird that they have like a night version of this ride essentially, and it looks beautiful at nighttime, but then they close it early, and the park always closes at 9, so there's not a ton of chance to get a night ride on this, which is a shame because the night rides on the Mark Twain are fantastic. They're honestly a highlight of my day a lot of the time. Mickey's PhilharMagic. This sounds damning, and it's not, but I've written a great place to relax. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to relax. But I guess I've got summer brain right now, and it's just this air-conditioned room in the middle of Fantasyland, which never has a long wait. And it's just like, I think it has literally saved lives. That thing, the fact you could just go in there, sit in a comfortable chair, and watch this really, really beautiful show and listen to some of the best Disney songs ever made. It's a great experience. The negative, and I know I just said I wouldn't do this, but it's a slightly different qualm that I have. It's dubbed in Japanese. You're in Japan, the audio's in Japanese, like, it's fine, that's not a big deal, right? But it's dubbed, which is a shame. You know, especially with the modern rides like Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure, Beauty and the Beast, they've gone to such lengths to make sure that the lip syncing is in Japanese, so it looks like the characters are speaking Japanese, right? And in PhilharMagic, it's just exactly the same video as everywhere else in the world, but then you're hearing the Japanese. Takes me out of it a little bit, I don't know. Minnie's house, it's a fun walkthrough. It's a fun little walkthrough. You're not meeting Minnie in here, you meet Minnie in Minnie's style studio. That's a meet and greet, so we're not gonna talk about that in this video, even though that is a pretty great walkthrough as well, just the queue for that. But anyway, we're talking about Minnie's house. It's just another one of these little Toontown things that you can wander through. The negative for this is it gets absolutely ludicrously ridiculous wait times in the spring. I don't know why exactly, but it just became the place for all the high school girls who are graduating to take photos to post on Instagram this year. And it was getting like literally 2 or 3 hour waits for this tiny little walkthrough because everybody wanted to take the photo in Minnie's house, which is kind of awesome. I kind of love that this little walkthrough attraction was getting so much love, you know? Next up, one of my favorite rides in the whole park, one that's unique to Tokyo Disney. You're not gonna see this anywhere else. Monsters, Inc. Ride and Go Seek. It's fun, it's funny, it's frantic, it's chaotic. It's such a good time. I love this ride. The interactivity is fantastic. You shine a flashlight, a torch, I would say because I'm British, but you shine a torch on the helmets and then something happens. Every single time you find something, there's a response in the ride. You know, I always loved on the Buzz Lightyear, on the shooting rides, I always loved the targets when something would happen afterwards. And this ride, essentially everything is that. The ride is a mile a minute, the vehicles are turning, there's amazing animatronics, there's some really, really cool special effects. It's one of the best rides in the park. It is absolutely don't miss. Whether you're a fan of the films or not, and I am a big fan of the films, so I just absolutely love this thing. The negative of this one was not difficult to come up with. The damn vehicles. Those vehicles are so uncomfortable. There's barely any legroom. It's just hard plastic. And sometimes the vehicles like to stop pretty suddenly and you've got no legroom. You just bang your knees on there. Just an extra inch or two of legroom would make this ride flawless. If the vehicles were comfortable, I honestly would have a really hard time thinking of a negative to this ride. But anyway, it's don't miss anyway. You absolutely have to ride this thing. The next ride is something that is very much not frantic and fun or anything like that. The Omnibus. This is the double-decker bus in the World Bazaar. And you get some amazing views of the castle. You see so many people all day in front of the castle trying to get the perfect photo with no other people in it, you know, trying to get the best photo of the castle that they can. Well, you just ride this little bus, which never has a wait, by the way, and you're on the second floor, slap bang right in front of the castle. Get some amazing photos from up there. The negative to this is it's a very short loop. In other parks, this will go up and down Main Street, but Tokyo Disneyland's Main Street is covered and weird and I don't like it. That's a topic for another video. But this literally just goes round in a circle. It just goes around in the tiny little hub circle right in front of the castle and then you get off. The positive side is that it never ever has a wait, but yeah, it's a shame it doesn't go a little bit further than that. Another thing that's in that main street called World Bazaar here in Tokyo Disneyland is the Penny Arcade. I love this place. It's nostalgic fun. It's something that could so easily, and I'm pretty sure has been replaced in other parks by more shops, could be replaced by something more profitable, right? But it hasn't. It's got this old school charm. It takes you back to a simpler time. Put the coin in the machine. There's a lot of coin pressing in there, but there's also some genuine, really old coin-operated games. I love the one that's like a baseball game. You can see the little guy physically moving. I love all like the mechanical things, you know. It's well worth popping in here, even just for 5 minutes. It's really sweet. Next up, we're at Peter Pan's Flight. Not the Fantasy Springs ride that this is from, but this has Peter Pan on it anyway, so I'm gonna hold it. Peter Pan's Flight is just magical. It's just magical. It's that type of magical nostalgia that's not even like, oh, I thought this was so nice as a kid. It still takes you there. That flying over London scene and then flying over Neverland, it just is so simple, but it works so, so well. And another plus here, this is maybe the only thing that is less popular in Tokyo than it is in other Disney parks. This gets like a 40-minute wait on a busy day. Normally more like 25, 30. In other parks, it gets over an hour on the regular, right? So normally everything's more popular in Japan, but this is less for whatever reason. So that's a positive too. The negative side, this is very, very short. And if you've ridden it in other parts, you'll think, yeah, it's a short ride, but it's shorter than a lot of those other versions as well. It is over before you know it, but it's enough time to just soak you up in this magical world. Staying in Fantasyland for this next one, another classic, Pinocchio's Daring Journey. This is a short wait dark ride. This always has the shortest wait of all the Fantasyland rides, which tend to have pretty short waits anyway, so you can always get on this thing. And it just ticks the box. You know, maybe you're in the park for one day, maybe you don't want to do all the classic, nostalgic kind of smaller rides like this, but you can just get on this one and it's like, okay, we did a bit of that. You know, we had that flavor of ice cream, to use a weird metaphor. The negative to this ride is it's pretty creepy. It's pretty creepy and pretty dark, which I might see as a positive, but a lot of people definitely see it as a negative. You know, you're essentially seeing children being turned into donkeys and then being trapped in cages, which gets weirder and weirder the more you think about it. But it all ends with a big happy ending anyway, unlike one of the other rides that we're going to get to later on. Next up, Pirates of the Caribbean. I've written epic, and no, I'm not talking about the new Universal theme park. This ride is like maybe the first epic ride. I think when you come out of the caves and you see this enormous ship and this huge show building just opens up, you're like, oh my goodness, this is a whole different thing. This is going on a whole other scale. We just talked about Pinocchio, like going from those types of rides to then this is like, wow, this is something else. And this is the classic version, don't get it mixed up. You might be thinking, oh, I heard there's a Pirates of the Caribbean that's really modern and based on the films in Asia. That's the one in Shanghai, it's absolutely fantastic. But this is much more the nostalgic version. In fact, this still has some of the old scenes that they got rid of in all the other parks because, well, I mean, they're misogynistic and they probably should get rid of them here as well. But if you're a bit more of a historian, I guess it's nice that you can still see these classic scenes untouched for now. The ride is entirely in English as well, except for the skull. That's all. That's the talking skull at the start of the ride is the only thing in Japanese. Everything else is in English. But yeah, it's just an absolutely epic ride that has some scenes that I, you know, get a little uncomfortable taking my daughter on, to be 100% frank. Next up, we're talking about another ride that is totally unique to Tokyo Disneyland. This ride really was the star attraction for this park for a long, long time. This was the first time Tokyo Disney had really built a big ride that was unique to that park. And it was the first ever trackless dark ride in the world, ever, anywhere. This is Pooh's Hunny Hunt. And what I love about this ride is that every single room uses this ride system in a new way. Every single room has a new surprise. Every single room feels so fresh. And because you're moving through the ride so quickly, you know, the total opposite to Beauty and the Beast that we talked about earlier, it just feels so fun and whimsical and playful. You know, you're whizzing through seeing Pooh flying overhead in the blustery forest, and then you're bouncing, the vehicle's moving up and down in the Tigger scene, and then you're seeing these amazing special effects of Pooh having an out-of-body experience, like floating out of his body. And then the Heffalump scene is just pure chaos, my favorite type of ride scene when there's just craziness going on everywhere. And then Pooh wakes up in a tree eating honey. Yeah, I don't get that part. So that's my negative for this ride. The story doesn't really make sense. Maybe I'm just too used to the other versions because I went to every other Disney park in the world before I came to Tokyo. But he falls asleep and then he wakes up and he's in the tree. Whereas the other versions have like he wakes up and he's floating down the river and then he escapes and then he gets to the tree and like that just makes a little bit more sense. But I think that's real nitpicky. No one's coming off that ride like, well, the story, a few little plot holes in that story. Like, who cares about the story, right? It's a really, really fun ride. Another one that's super fun and super wacky and all over the place. We're back in Toontown, Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin. I love so much stuff about this ride. I love that it's based on one of my favorite films, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I love that it's like a new spin on the classic Fantasyland Dark Ride. It's like classic Fantasyland Dark Ride plus. It's not as new and different and exciting as Pooh's Hunny Hunt, but it does some new stuff. But what I've written down for the positive about this ride is its unique gimmick. When I, as a kid, heard, oh, There's the Roger Rabbit ride in California where you can steer the ride vehicles yourself. I was like, oh, wow. I was imagining like a dodgem and like different routes that you could choose to go down, which, I mean, that would be pretty cool. But it's not that, but it's basically a teacup on a track. In fact, I heard one Imagineer say that to test it, they actually took a teacup from the Teacups ride, put it on Pinocchio, I think, and was spinning around the ride to check that it would work. And it just really adds to the wackiness and zaniness, zanity, craziness of this ride. It's the perfect ride system for a ride based in Toontown. Now, whilst this ride is nowhere near as short as like Peter Pan's Flight, it does have a good amount of weight to it. You don't feel shortchanged at all. I can just never get over the idea that this ride was originally planned to be a lot bigger and it would have had 2 stories. And actually, they built the outdoor ride area that this ride would have come out of the show building and gone back in on the 2nd floor. They still built that. There's just no ride up there. And every time I see it now, I think, gosh, if Tokyo Disney built this ride like 10 years later, they would have put some more money in. They would have said, no, we want a better version. And they would have put some more money in and we would have got the outdoor section and the 2 floors and all of that stuff. But oh well, it's still a great ride anyway. With a fantastic queue as well. The queue for that thing is one of the best. Back to those old Fantasyland style rides. I said that one of them doesn't have a happy ending, and it's this one, Snow White's Adventures. A lot of you will have traumatized childhoods from riding this ride as children, and you may know that some of the other versions of the ride have tried to make them less scary so that children don't get traumatized. But not in Tokyo. The version in Tokyo is basically a ghost train. There's that one little happy scene in the middle, but everything else is just scary witch, scary old hag, scary. And the ride ends, and yes, this is a positive, by the way. The ride ends with her dropping a boulder on you, the rider. Everything goes black, you hear, ah, and then the doors open and you get off the ride. Like, that's the end of the ride. Is that you get crushed to death by a boulder. Which is pretty amazing that in the year 2025 we can have a Disney ride based on a classic Disney movie where you die at the end of the ride. However, I am going to use the same critique that I used for Peter Pan's Flight in that this ride is very, very short and I wish there was more of it. I wish there was more. Gosh, the next one. What can you say? This ride really has everything. It's got great sets, amazing animatronics, gorgeous views, some thrills to it, even some water elements. Of course, I'm talking about Splash Mountain. This is just such a meaty ride. This is like everything you want from a Disney ride. It's just like a perfect checklist of all those things. It's got some spookier parts, it's got some silly parts, it's got some jokes and gags, it's got some great music, you get amazing views of the park. Oh, it really is very, very good. But there's always like this bittersweet element to it now, you know, because of all of the controversy around it, which I really, really don't want to get into. I love to talk about theme parks and talk about rides, and this is a fantastic ride, and I don't think you can deny that. It's just a shame that it has this kind of stank on it now, you know. But when you're riding the thing, you're not thinking any of that. When you're riding it, you're just immersed in this wonderful, wonderful Disney ride. So yeah, I'm very glad for that. The best part of this ride is not the ride. The best part of this ride is the queue. I'm talking about Star Tours, and it's a great ride. It's a fun ride. I love the randomized sequences. I love having C-3PO in the vehicle with you. It's so much fun. But the queue is even better. The queue is even better. The queue is incredible. Some great gags, some animatronics, some amazing sets and scenery. I just love this area. Now, I said that I love how the ride is randomized. There are like different beginnings, middles, and ends, essentially, and they jumble them up so you don't know which ones you're gonna get. And that is really cool, but I do kind of miss the old one where it was just this one video. Because it was like, if you're in the mood to ride Star Tours, you get on the ride and you ride Star Tours. And you could have so much more nostalgia for it and so much more of an attachment to it. Whereas now, I have very little attachment to any of the clips from it because you're always seeing them in different disjointed orders. I really wish that they could do some promotion or something where you could ride the old version, but I guess they'd have to pull C-3PO out and put Rex in there again. Why am I saying that like it's a bad thing? That would be amazing. That would be wonderful. The next one is one that I have complained about a lot, and that is Stitch Encounter in Tomorrowland. Well, there's one good thing about this. I'm pretty certain it's going to be gone soon. No, that's not fair. I actually had a wonderful comment just today that I saw on one of my videos saying somebody had gone on Stitch Encounter as an English speaker, and I always say, don't go in here if you don't speak Japanese, because the whole show is in Japanese. It's people asking questions in Japanese, then Stitch answers them in Japanese. Apparently, Stitch asked to talk to this person and really tried his best to speak English to them, which is really cool. And this person had an amazing special memory going in there. So I take back what I've said about not going in there. You know, maybe you should. Maybe you'll make some special memories yourself. I went in there very recently, and yeah, I did not have that experience. I just sat there like, I know some Japanese. I've been here for 6 years now, but even for me, it's like, yeah, okay. Next up is another walkthrough attraction, the Swiss Family Treehouse. You get some great views from this thing. I know I've said that a few times now, but this is really big, actually. And from the top, you can see the castle, you can see Tomorrowland, you can see Adventureland, you can see all over the place from a really, really high vantage point. The negative to this attraction, the negative to the Swiss Family Treehouse, though, is it's been closed for 4 years, almost 5 years now. It's been closed ever since 2021. You might think, oh, did it close during COVID and never reopen? No, it closed during COVID, reopened in 2021, and then closed again and never reopened. So I have no idea why. It's a real shame, and it's really silly, because this is like the big thing that draws you into Adventureland, really. You can see it from so many areas of the park, and it's just sat there decaying. And Tokyo Disney never had anything like that. You know, I know Disneyland in California have had the old People Mover rocket rods track there for like 20 years, and they all just have to accept that there's this big dead ride in the middle of the park. Tokyo never did that kind of thing, and it's sad that that's apparently okay now. It's not okay. Open it. Right next to the Swiss Family Treehouse is the next one, with just the most ridiculous attraction name ever. This is called, and I have to check my phone, the Enchanted Tiki Room, Stitch presents Aloha Ikomo Mai. Couldn't they just call it Stitch Tiki Room or something? I don't know. Anyway, Stitchy Room. It's the Tiki Room, but with Stitch. It's the Enchanted Tiki Room, the classic ride, and then Stitch starts getting up to mischief, and you get to see a great Stitch animatronic in there as well, playing a little ukulele. It's fun, it's cute, it's nice. The problem with this, that I'm going to say, which you can see in the footage on screen right now, is that in many, many of the seats, there's just a light shining right into your eyeballs. I want to be able to see with my eyeballs. I don't want to be blinded by lights. I would like to see things. I thought that was kind of the point, was to see the things, not to have light blaring into your eyes. This next one is one of the 2 newest rides in the park. It's a lot of fun. It gets talked about a lot, despite being a little flat ride. This is the Happy Ride with Baymax. And hands down, easily, the best thing about this ride is the music and the cast members who dance to said music. The cast members on this ride are insane. They have one hand on the stop button for the ride, and the other hand is doing one of 6 choreographed dances to one of the 6 different songs that play while people are riding the ride. And some of these cast members go ham. Some of these cast members are going crazy with these dance routines. Like, they should get double salary. They should get a salary for ride operating and a salary for being dancers and entertainment in the park, because they're ridiculous. So the cast members dancing is the best thing about this ride. The worst thing about this ride is other people dancing. Now, sometimes they're great. Sometimes they're wonderful. Sometimes it's a really fun time and there's some other guests standing around the ride dancing. But some guests will sort of aggressively dance at you, and they buy a ticket. There are no annual passes to Tokyo Disney. Please do support me on Patreon, by the way. You can find the link in the description. I have some great perks and you can help support the channel. I have to pay full price every time I go to the park. And so do these Baymax dancers, but they'll pay full price for a full day ticket to stand next to the Baymax ride and dance all day. Now, this has been getting less and less recently, but this summer they added another song to the ride from Mrs. Green Apple, a very popular J-pop group, so it sort of reignited all the Baymax dancers, and I don't know, the ride should be about me having a good time, right? Not about me watching you aggressively dancing, but anyway, a lot of people really love the crazy atmosphere of it, and this ride really is one of those only in Japan things. No little ride like this would get these sorts of weights, this sort of attention, and everyone dancing along like this anywhere else in the world. So going from that really high intensity action-packed area, we're going to look at a ride that's the complete opposite of that now. The rafts to Tom Sawyer Island. Anyone who's watched my vlogs when I go over there will know that I'm a huge fan of Tom Sawyer Island. And I often say it's an escape from the escape. Like when you get onto Tom Sawyer Island, I said this in my latest vlog, I stepped off the raft and I just got overwhelmed with this feeling of relief. Because suddenly I wasn't thinking, okay, which ride do I need to do after this and where do I need to go? How do I maximize the efficiency of my day? Once you're on the island, you're on the island. You're doing the attraction. So you can just kind of relax and just take it in. Which is really the headspace you should be in the whole park, but it's very difficult when you're trying to make the most of your day, you know? The worst thing about Tom Sawyer Island rafts, and I really did have to scrape the barrel with this, but you're standing up. Like, one of the benefits to especially the longer rides is that if your legs are tired, you get to sit down for a while, right? And Tom Sawyer Island, you're gonna be standing up on the raft, and then you're gonna be walking around the area. There's some benches for you to sit down, and I recommend sitting down. They're probably some of the best views in the park. But you're not getting that rest of your feet. That's not to say you shouldn't go over there. I guess another thing is, like, if you've got one day in the park, it is very difficult to recommend Tom Sawyer Island because it's a bit of a time commitment. Like, you're taking the rafts over there and then you're spending some time on there and then taking the rafts back. But I love, as a local, I love going over there. The next one is Toon Park, and this is what I don't know why they even list this as an attraction on the website. It's so silly. I've just written good for kids, I guess. It's a tiny play. It's not even a significant play area. It's a tiny play area with no like slides or swings or anything. It's just some little like animals that you can sit on, I guess. It's nothing. It's just nothing. It's nothing. Next, we're going to talk about the Western River Railroad. The train at Tokyo Disneyland works a little bit differently than it does in other Disney parks around the world. The other Disney parks, the train goes all the way around the park with multiple stations, so you can actually use it to move from one area of the park to another. At Tokyo Disneyland, however, the train is a ride. You get on and off in the same spot, so nobody's using it for transport. And it also only goes around one half of the park, which kind of does make more sense, maybe. Like, you wouldn't see a train in Tomorrowland, right? It doesn't really make that much sense, so they keep it in the areas of the park where that would make sense. The best thing about this ride is waving. Something I love about Tokyo Disneyland is if people are on a ride and you're not on a ride, you can wave to them. Now, if you're both on rides, you don't wave. And if you're both not on rides, you definitely don't wave. That's a big no-no. But if you're on a ride and the other people are not on a ride, you can wave. So this ride gives you a lot of waving, and I just love waving to people. It gives me far too much happiness. I don't know. I think going from Tokyo, where every train station is full of people trying desperately to ignore each other, and then you get to My Hammer and go into Disneyland, and everyone's like making eye contact with each other and smiling and waving to each other. It's just nice. It's just nice. Why can't the whole world be like this? I don't know. The worst thing about the Western River Railroad is that for the first half of the ride, you're not looking at much. Especially if you're sat on the left, you're basically looking at a fence. This ride goes right up, and I mean right up to the edge of the park, so that you're basically looking at a fence with some fake ivy on it. The other side of that fence is a path. Next to the path is a road, and next to the road is the shopping center, Xperi. Like, you're right next to the park, and there's just not a ton to look at. The second half of the ride more than makes up for it, though, with amazing views of Splash Mountain, the castle, Big Thunder, Tom Sawyer Island, and then the Primeval World diorama at the end. So there is that, but yeah, had to find a negative, right? Next is the only attraction in the park that you have to pay to experience. Like, yes, you can pay extra to skip the queues on Splash and Baymax and Beauty and the Beast, but this, you're only doing it if you pay. This is the Westernland Shooting Gallery. It's just a small thing where you take 10 shots at different targets, and at the end you get a score out of 10 of how many of your shots hit the targets. The negative of this for me, oh, let me go get it, hold on. Thank you for waiting. The negative for this ride, the worst thing about this is, oh, not ride, attraction, I always get 0. Look at Goofy's face, like, are you still saddle sore? Like, no, I'm not saddle sore, Goofy. I don't even know what the saddle sore means. That sounds like a medical term. Why do I always get 0? I'm looking right at the target, and so I think, okay, I have to move an inch, and then I always get 0. So that's the best and worst thing about every single attraction at Tokyo Disneyland. Let me know if you think I missed any positives, or if I was too harsh with some of the negatives. Write all of that down in the comments for me. I would love to see all of that. And watch this video next.